Hi, I'm Bob Graves with Canary Mid-Century. We renovate and sell mid-century homes in Claremont, California. Today we're looking at 5 must-have repairs before you sell your home. So obviously the roof is protection for the entire structure of your home, and it's a costly item, and because of that buyers are very sensitive about the roof and how old it is and what kind of condition it's in. So they're going to want an assurance that it's not going to be an issue within the next few years, and have their inspector look it over pretty closely. So depending on the type of roof, the age will be a factor to consider. Composition shingles, they usually last 20-25 years, whereas a concrete or mission tile roof has 30 years or even more. And all roofs require a yearly maintenance so that you can take care of cracked caulking or weatherproofing that might be in deterioration. Usually in Southern California, of course, we have these long dry, months and months of long dry hot periods, and then several weeks of torrential rains, and that's usually when we find out where our leaks are. If we haven't done the maintenance on our roof, those leaks start to come through, and then we have ceiling damage, we have damage to our walls and floors, and the expenses can pile up quite a bit. So even our personal items can get damaged if we don't take care of our roofs. So it's good to do that annual maintenance, and before that rain starts, and be sure the leaves are removed and any debris that's up there. And I'd say if your roof has 5+ years or so remaining, you've got no leaks, and I don't think that most buyers are going to give you too much trouble about the roof and look for repairs or any price reductions because of it. As long as you've taken good care of it and you've got 5+ years left, I think you're in pretty good shape. If you've got leaks and you're beyond that useful life that we talked about, it's best to go ahead and get bids on it and see how much it's going to cost to replace. So this is a water heater disclosure that is used by every agent when they list a property. And it basically says that the water heater is in great condition and it's working. And when a buyer hires their home inspector, it's one of the first things that they're going to take a look at. So it's important to know, and it's so important in fact that it has its own disclosure. So when we look at our water heater that's over 20 years old and maybe you've been having issues with it, it's likely that's the time that we probably want to get that replaced. And depending on the size of the unit, it can cost anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 to have it replaced by a licensed plumber. So no need to wait and hold off on that repair and do it in escrow. I think it's something that you need time to get your bids put together and choose a contractor that you prefer and not be rushed to have it come up as a checklist item when you walk into escrow. So while we're on the subject, plumbing can be of great concern for new buyers. We can separate plumbing really into 2 parts. Your finished plumbing, which is your valves and your faucet handles, your shower heads, and even your toilet. And those should all be operating easily, no leaks happening, no drips. And if you have original fixtures, those can usually be fixed by replacing a valve or putting in a new rubber gasket, depending on what the fixture is. And so that's a much better option than replacement, especially if you've got a mid-century and you're trying to keep things original. Buyers want to know what kind of pipes you have behind the walls. They want to know, if you still have the old galvanized pipes or if you've renewed those. And by now, your galvanized pipes in your mid-century should be replaced. But if not, you need to consider looking at replacement with copper or maybe a PEX system, which is the plastic system. And nobody wants to buy a house, I think, with galvanized pipes, poor water quality, and just the ongoing repairs from leak. You'll make points with that buyer if you keep that item off the list. Don't put yourself in a situation where you have to reduce your price by $30,000, and you could have done the repairs for much less than that. It just puts you ahead of the game if you go ahead and have those replaced. Plus, you'll get to enjoy the fresh water yourself and an operating system, and avoid stepping into a tough negotiation at the end of escrow. So by now, you probably realized we're talking about the main systems of your home and the repairs that go with them, and for obvious reasons. These are the systems that help the home function and make life comfortable for us at the same time. But they're also the same systems that they get really expensive when they go bad. So that's why buyers are so concerned about these systems, and that's why I put them at the top of the list. So if your Mid-Century still has its original electrical panel and wiring, you probably ought to consider that being replaced. Do a full rewire. And electrical is one of those repairs that it's not a do-it-yourselfer. I always recommend getting a professional electrician, a licensed electrician. I mean, just one wire nut that's not tight enough and misplaced can cause a spark, which causes a fire. Not to mention, you can get yourself shocked if you're not a professional. So let's leave that to the pros and have them come in and take a look at your house and see what things need to be done. They'll probably start at the exterior panel and look at how old that panel is and what kind of condition it's in. A lot of Mid-Century homes still have a 100 amp panel, and that's simply right on the edge. I mean, it's just barely enough to run a modern home with all of our computers and televisions in every room and stereo systems. I mean, just one piece of exercise equipment and you're starting to blow breakers all the time. So is your home heating and cooling properly? Are the thermostats up to date? Likely the HVAC isn't working at full capacity if you've got an old system, or efficiently as it should if it's old. So buyers tend to worry about the HVAC system. It seems to be the first thing to break. In the middle of their first summer, the AC goes out, and then they're all upset and they think that you sold them a bad system. So keeping your HVAC system up to date is extremely important, and it's really a simple check of all your Freon levels and going through the system to see if the ducting is working properly. If it's not too old and it's in good shape, it goes a long way with the buyer to have it inspected and have it thoroughly gone through. Their inspector is going to come in and turn on the heat and let it run for a while. Then they're going to turn on the AC unit and have it run for a while. They're going to test the vents and see just exactly what the temperature is there and how much your units are putting out. So this is one that you just want to pass that test and avoid the discussion in escrow, right? I would have concerns if the HVAC was, say, over 20 years old, or it's not heating and cooling properly. Replacement, that can get very expensive depending on what's wrong. I mean, $3,000 to $10,000 or so. If you've got ducting up in the ceiling that maybe is fallen off, or it's in bad condition, it's deteriorated. You can even get into asbestos issues if you have a really old system like we do in our Mid-Century. So something to consider, have an HVAC repairman go through and take a look at your system, make sure it's operating properly and it's up to code, and you'll avoid a lot of those questions when you get to the end of escrow. So in Southern California, we have termites. And these little guys can create tremendous damage, so much so that we have a separate disclosure for it. And when you go to sell, you may be asked or required to create a termite clearance report that says that you've treated for termites and that you've taken care of all of those repairs. Now, what's interesting, and something that a lot of people don't realize, is that it's not necessarily the buyer that's asking for a termite clearance. Most of the time, it is a requirement of their lender. So the bank wants to know what kind of house that they're lending money on, and that the house isn't full of termites and dry rot. and they're the ones that are going to be requiring that. So generally, we want to maintain our house by having an annual inspection and making sure that termites that are in the area haven't come up into our home, and if so, we've treated for them. And continuing to get rid of do your dry rot repairs if you have some dry rot areas where water's penetrating into your wood around the house. Getting that and keeping that up to speed is one of the best ways to keep from having a large bill, if you will, as you get closer to selling the house. So that's the short list of must-have repairs before you sell your mid-century home. If you've got concerns about your own house, I offer free consulting for all of my clients, and I have a number of referrals for you if you need contractors. Just give me a call or text and I'll come by with my 30 years of construction and real estate experience free of charge. That's all we have for today. Thanks a lot. I'm Bob, and we'll see you on the next one.